Hey guys, Steve here. Today I got to look at the Fletcher for you. We got Halsey on the screen. Double concealment on this one. The concealment's a bit of an issue for the American destroyers, so I have double concealment to mitigate that. You could potentially throw in Sims or something along those lines if you don't have Swirsky. But this ship was buffed recently. I think the guns reload about 15% faster or something like that. Very quick reload anyways. It's 2.8 on the setup you saw there. I kind of go back and forth on the slot 1 perk on this build. You can add 4 kilometers to the torps, which brings the reaction time down significantly. But they're still relatively slow torps. I think they top out at 59 knots in the water. I got the gun setup on this one. You're only saving 0.2 seconds on the reload, but you get additional torp detectability, which can help you in these kind of close encounter destroyer fights, especially if you're going against a destroyer that has the smoke sonar combo, which is the only real weakness the Fletcher has against other destroyers. I haven't squared off against a good Tashkent in this yet, but I suspect that would be a little bit better of a fight. We only have one destroyer in this match. You'll see what happened. The other video I was considering picking from last night, it was a game on Two Brothers. I spawned on one side, killed 2 destroyers over there, went back through our base, killed the other destroyer, and our team absolutely just mopped him up. This thing's kind of the ultimate destroyer hunter, assuming you're running Halsey with the twist and track, that little rainbow-shaped white line that kind of hard to see with the sky right now. That allows you to spot the closest ship to you, give you a rough estimate of where it is. We'll actually see an instance in this game, and people are always asking me about twist and track. We'll see an instance in this game where that thing ends up saving my life, potentially. Another thing they did add in this update is it does now say in the enemy screen, located, I believe, that when they're the ship that's actually actively being tracked by that thing. So it's not as powerful as it was before, but I still think it's a very valuable perk, among the best. So I typically tend to run any destroyer or any setup that has the availability of twist and track whenever possible. Here we're just trying to pull forward. This map is a crash zone, I believe. Trying to get up here, spot these ships. Not really too concerned about dealing any torp damage. If we get some, nice. But what I was concerned about was getting too far forward and having their destroyers spot me and being that close to their support ships. My support ships are going in hard, though. They're not really... they're a little too aggressive. The decision that has to be made right now is, do I want to try and help keep these ships alive or not? I mean, the Colorado, I think the one next to me is pretty much going to die. He's just pushing into a crossfire. But I do end up popping the smoke, end up trying to gun down the guys. Now he's pretty angled, so we're going to struggle to do some damage here. But you can see the rate of fire that we just pump out these shells. Even if we're not getting a lot of damage, do have the fire starting chance. Not getting a lot of luck on that RNG aspect right now. But we're trying to help them out. You can see on this map, our team overloaded C, and then we kind of kept our third of our team up here to kind of defend this. I think that's a good split. Right now we each team has 1. If we can kill the guys on C relatively quickly, take that, then we'll have a 2-to-1 advantage. Of course, that leaves us vulnerable up here, especially now that our ships are kind of going down. But this game is going to just basically be me holding down the line over here, doing what I can. But you can see there the twist and track, it flipped to the left, and that you can see how close this Colorado was, 9.4, and that means that the destroyer that's unspotted over there is closer than that. So he's roughly 9 kilometers, and that gets me thinking in my mind, alright, this is not sustainable. No one's spotting over here because I'm in the cloud. I'm trying to shoot as many shots in there as possible. Finally, we decide to move just in case. He's either rushing us. We saw the single launch torps earlier, I believe. Yeah, I just went back and checked. There were single launch torps earlier, so I was aware there was the lightning in this instance. And the lightning, of course, has the sonar combination with the smoke. So that's a very valuable tool. It's kind of the Fletcher's one weakness. You got to kind of play carefully around ships that have that capability, because of course if they sonar you and get into a smoke cloud in range where they're going to keep you detected, they can take you down. You can't really effectively return fire in that instance, but in a straight up destroyer open water gunfight, I mean, you should kick the crap out of Lightning, barring a lucky torp strike. So we got out of there, and as you noticed, there were torps coming in shortly thereafter. So twist and track probably saved us there, unless the torps would have ran out of range. Now the Lightning comes barreling in, and we'll just see the raw firepower against these destroyers here. And if you're pretty much any other destroyer in the game, you got to really respect the Fletcher. You got to be careful. He needs to be deploying the smoke right now. He needs to be using the sonar right now. He's not doing that. I'm not using my smoke. Well, I don't have it, so that's a pretty good reason why. But even if I didn't, I probably wouldn't use it, because I want to deal as much damage as possible to that guy. You can see we're aiming for the hits. You can see the explosions. And then I tried to aim behind him, thinking he would back up immediately, because the British destroyers can start and stop very quickly. So if I was him, I would have backed up there. He didn't do it, though, and then since we lost contact, we weren't making any more hits, we just kind of stopped firing. I want to use his cloud to disengage from the Colorado. So anytime you see a smoke cloud that the enemy's using or your teammate's using, you can still use that. You need to kind of mentally be thinking, how can I use this? And we just put the smoke in between the Colorado. That dropped us off detection. Then we can become unspotted again. So just using the features around us, and having the awareness to do that, that's kind of pretty important. Now, at this point in the game, obviously, we've gotten the two caps. They're working on finishing off their flank over there. And we're just basically trying to slow them down. Our support ships are dead over here. I can't really hold off that effectively. What is it, 2 battleships and a destroyer by myself? But I can do what I can to slow down. So here I'm pulling over to the side of the cap to get as good of an angle as I possibly can right here. You want to get torps going into the sides of these battleships if possible. If you're torping directly at them, you're either going to get 0 or maybe 1 torp. If you get them in the sides, potentially you can get more strikes. Now these 55 knotters, they're very hard to hit. They got a lot of time to accidentally make any sort of adjustment to their course, and then they'll just miss them. But this Colorado, I don't know what's going on here. If his Dewey's getting a workout, or if he's on the phone, or if he's actually just intentionally slowly crawling forward here. But unfortunately, the torps are staggered, and this is, I think it was probably a torp knockout that caused that to happen. That's usually the case. 9 times out of 10, probably 19 times out of 20, I'd rather be firing all the torps at once. You can widen the spread, make it easier to get some strikes. You'd rather get 1 or 2 strikes, or just by widening the spread, rather than potentially doing these staggered plays. There's a time and place for everything, of course. There's always an exception for everything, but using all the torps at once gives you more versatility. We're getting those torps down. Lightning pops back up, and that's a bit of a mistake. He should have learned the first time that we have pretty good concealment here, and we basically spotted each other at the same time. Wasn't able to quite take him out there, but we got him to pop another smoke, and then we're able to disengage. Again, using his smoke to disengage, because those battleships were in our max firing range, but we use that smoke to block that line of sight. Our detection drops down, then we can kind of reset the play. Lightning's going for broke. Let's see how that works out for him. Not particularly well. He's dead. And again, use the same play. We're using that smoke once again. Very short duration smoke. Here's a little aggressive. I don't know why I was pushing into the Colorado. As soon as I looked down and saw my torps had 20 seconds longer to reload, I began turning around there. We do have the smoke available, but we're going to absorb that one salvo. He's only got 2 guns fired at us, or in position to fire at us. He launched the shots. We kind of ended up dodging them, or he missed, whatever. And then we get some smoke down. And what you want to do as a destroyer player as best as possible is launch those torps in between your natural reload, because the players will notice if you're shooting, then you stop shooting for 30 seconds, then you resume shooting. the only logical conclusion is, alright, the guy took a long time to line up a torp strike, and all I got to do is turn my direction or change my speed or whatever. But if you can get it naturally launched within your cycle, that'll deceive the players. It's a strategic play that you want to try and use. Now we have to drop our own smoke because he's pushing in disengage, fire up the engines, and we're much faster than the Colorado, which is as slow as you can get, so we're going to be able to outdistance him. But because we had the staggered torps here, we might catch him off guard. This is kind of a one instance where those staggered torps might be beneficial because he absorbed one or two shots from the first strike, and now he's probably thinking, alright, the torps are spent, I should be in the clear. But I do want to get back to torping in between your gun reloads. It's something that you should do very quickly. And you can see, obviously, with a ship that is a 2.8 second reload, you don't have a lot of time to do that. But we just got the torps down as quick as possible. If you're new to the game, you're not going to be able to do it quite that quick, but practice that, and destroyer play is largely about deception, kind of controlling the mind games and anticipating what you would be doing in the other player's shoes. If you were in that battleship, if you were in that cruiser, how would you respond to the situation? To play it at a really high level, you kind of have to have knowledge of everything that's going on and what the enemy can perceive from its environment. So getting those torps in between those shots, major advantage, and if you can practice that, you will start to see payoffs due to the deception. Anyway, we get some more torps in there. I assume he's just going to stop in the smoke, which is probably his only real option. But at this point in time, yeah, they have two caps. We don't want to be too blasé about this, but the game's looking pretty good. So we're just going to move in here, and then we're going to see the AP in action. In certain situations, close range against broadside battleships, broadside cruisers, yes, the AP is quite effective. But you can see here we're going to be getting 3,000 K every 2.8 seconds. That's withering damage. We don't have smoke, so we're kind of assuming we're going to die here at any moment. But he ends up shooting the other guy. But pumping out this damage, don't sleep on the AP. If you have the opportunity to fire some rounds, test it, see if it's effective. Now that he's angling, we're dropping down to 200 per strike, not per hit, not as effective. So had that exchange gone on a little longer, probably would have switched back to the HE. Anyway, this game ends with a server crash or whatever. We don't get the actual score, but I suspect it would have been pretty decent. Had some resets, killed the destroyer, and kind of held down the side on our own. So anyway, that's a look at the Fletcher. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Questions, comments, leave them below. I do love to hear from you guys, and we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.